In the late 1890s, the world stood on the brink of an electrical revolution. City streets were still lit by flickering gas lamps or the harsh glare of arc lamps, an early form of electric light. Arc lighting had emerged by the 1870s for lighting streets and large spaces. These lamps were extremely bright and ran on high voltage current, but they buzzed and flickered and were far too dangerous and intense for indoor use. This left a huge opportunity. Who would bring safe, gentle electric light into homes and businesses? Enter Thomas Edison. In 1879, Edison unveiled the first practical incandescent light bulb, a device that glowed warmly rather than burning with an arc. To deliver power to his bulbs, Edison created an entire electric utility system. By 1882, he had opened the Pearl Street Station in New York City, the world's first commercial electric power plant, distributing direct current electricity to customers in a small radius. Edison's system used a relatively low 110-volt supply, effective for his incandescent lamps and early electric motors, and was designed to compete directly with the gas companies for lighting for homes and offices. This was a monumental step. For the first time, a central station supplied electricity to end users, proving that an electric light network could be a reality. However, Edison's early electric grid had a serious drawback. Direct current could not be easily transported over long distances. The DC power from Pearl Street could only reach customers within about a mile of the plant, because at 110 volts, the energy would dissipate over longer wires, and using higher DC voltages wasn't practical without a way to reduce them for safe indoor use. To supply a whole city, one would need many power stations every few blocks, which was costly and inefficient. As demand for electricity grew, this limitation became a critical issue. How could electricity reach people miles away? By the mid-1880s, an alternative approach emerged. Inventors and engineers started experimenting with alternating current systems that could overcome DC's distance problem. In 1886, American engineer George Westinghouse introduced an AC power network that used a device called a transformer to raise voltage for long-distance transmission and then lower it for local use. High-voltage AC could be sent over far greater distances from a centralized power plant, then stepped down to safer voltages in neighborhoods. This meant a single large power plant could serve an entire city or region. The stage was set for a technological showdown. Edison's entrenched DC system would soon face a fierce challenge from the upstart AC system. The outcome of this war of currents would determine how the modern world would be electrified.
Before we continue the story, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss more interesting bedtime stories to accompany your sleep. Thomas Alva Edison, around the late 1880s, was already famous as the inventor of the phonograph and a practical incandescent light bulb. Edison was an American inventor and savvy businessman, often dubbed the Wizard of Menlo Park for his groundbreaking work at his New Jersey laboratory. He was a prolific figure with over 1,000 patents to his name, driving innovations such as the phonograph, the first device to record and play sound, the carbon microphone, improving telephone audio, the motion picture camera, and crucially, the electric light and power system. By the 1880s, Edison had built the world's first industrial research lab and assembled teams of engineers, all focused on turning inventive ideas into practical, profitable products. His inventions weren't just laboratory curiosities. They were deployed in the real world, changing how people lived. Edison's philosophy emphasized practical trial and error and hard work. He famously stated that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration, underscoring his belief that innovation is mostly about relentless effort. Indeed, Edison would doggedly test hundreds of materials for a light bulb filament or iterate a design countless times until it worked. As Nikola Tesla later quipped about him, if Edison needed to find a needle in a haystack, he would examine straw after straw until he found the needle, whereas a little theory could have saved him 90% of the labor. This hands-on, empirical approach served Edison well in developing robust, marketable technologies. It also made him a master at marketing and public demonstrations. He loved dazzling audiences by, for example, lighting up an entire street with his new bulbs, or playing recorded sounds on his phonograph. Beyond science, Edison was very much a businessman. He established the Edison Electric Light Company, and later Edison Illuminating Company, to build electrical infrastructure. By selling lighting systems and the electricity to run them, Edison stood to gain financially from every city that adopted his DC system. He tightly controlled patents related to electric lighting and power distribution, meaning competitors had to either license his technology or fight an uphill battle. By the 1880s, Edison was earning significant royalties from DC electricity and lighting patents. Protecting his invention's commercial success was a powerful motivation. In short, Thomas Alva Edison had staked his reputation and fortune on direct current. He truly believed his system was the future of electricity, and he was prepared to defend it aggressively against any rivals. Nikola Tesla, photographed in 1890 at age 34, was a brilliant Serbian-American inventor with a visionary approach to electricity. Tesla's path was quite different from Edison's. Born in 1856 in a village in what is now Croatia, Tesla was a formally educated engineer with a deep theoretical understanding of physics and electricity. He arrived in the United States in 1884 with little more than a head full of ideas and a letter of introduction to Edison's office. Tesla briefly went to work for Thomas Edison in New York, where his job was to improve Edison's DC dynamos. According to Tesla, Edison once even promised him a hefty bonus, reportedly $50,000, if he could greatly refine the DC generators. Tesla delivered an improved design, but Edison then quipped,
Tesla, you don't understand our American humor. Refusing to pay. A story that exemplifies the two men's differing mindsets. Disillusioned, Tesla quit Edison's lab in 1885. This early clash foreshadowed the larger conflict to come. Tesla was convinced he had a better solution for electrical power, but Edison simply wasn't interested. Free to pursue his own vision, Tesla focused on alternating current. He had conceived of an AC motor, a motor that could run on alternating currents changing magnetic fields, and in 1887 to 1888, he secured over 30 patents related to AC power systems. In 1888, the inventor and industrialist George Westinghouse recognized Tesla's genius and the potential of AC. Westinghouse purchased Tesla's key patents for a polyphase AC system, including the induction motor, and brought Tesla on as a consultant. This partnership gave Tesla the resources to develop his ideas, and Westinghouse Electric became the main company challenging Edison's dominance in electric power. Tesla's polyphase AC induction motor was a revolutionary device, simple, rugged, and ideal for AC power, something Edison's DC system lacked. With it, alternating current could not only send power over long distances, but also drive all manner of machinery. Tesla's inventive style and philosophy stood in stark contrast to Edison's. Where Edison was the tireless experimenter, Tesla was the visionary theoretician. He could famously visualize complex electrical devices entirely in his mind and work out designs without scribbling a single sketch. He valued elegance in engineering and often found Edison's brute force methods inefficient. I was a sorry witness of such doings, knowing that a little theory and calculation would have saved him 90% of his labor, Tesla remarked of Edison's trial and error tactics. Tesla was also less interested in commercializing products himself. He'd rather invent and let others finance or build the infrastructure. This approach meant that Tesla never achieved the same financial success as Edison. Indeed, he died relatively poor, but it allowed him to chase bold ideas. His motivations were driven by scientific progress and a desire to solve grand problems. In the war of currents, Tesla genuinely believed AC power was the technically superior solution to electrify the world, and he pursued it with almost missionary zeal. With Westinghouse's support, Tesla had the chance to make that vision a reality, even if it meant going up against Edison's mighty empire. To understand the rivalry, let's briefly explain what direct current and alternating current are, and why they led to such different visions of an electric future. Direct current, also known as DC, is an electric current flowing steadily in one direction through a circuit. This is the kind of current produced by batteries, for example. Edison's lighting system used DC. Electricity would flow out from the power plant through the wires and lamps and back to the plant in a continuous loop. DC was simple and stable. Early electric motors and incandescent bulbs worked well on it, and it was easy to store DC power in batteries for backup. However, DC had a major limitation. It was not easily converted to different voltages. To power lamps safely,
Edison's system ran at 110 volts. At that low voltage, sending electricity even a mile away required heavy, thick copper wires to prevent voltage drop. Beyond a mile or two, the copper needed, or the energy lost, became impractical. In short, DC worked well locally, but it was hard to distribute over long distances. A problem if you dreamed of electrifying entire cities and regions from a central station. Alternating current, also known as AC, is an electric current that periodically reverses direction. In modern systems, it alternates 50 or 60 times per second. Instead of a steady flow, AC oscillates back and forth in the wires. While this oscillation can make AC a bit more complex to understand, it comes with a huge advantage. Using a transformer, the voltage of AC can be stepped up or down with relative ease. For example, an AC generator could produce power at a high voltage, a transformer could boost it even higher for cross-country transmission, reducing loss, and another transformer could later drop it to a safe 110 or 220 volts for use in homes and buildings. This ability to change voltages efficiently meant AC could travel many miles from a power source. A high-voltage AC line could carry power to an entire city, where local transformers would provide the right voltage to neighborhoods and buildings. In the 1880s, inventors like Tesla and Westinghouse saw that AC was the key to building a truly wide-reaching electric grid. The trade-off was that working with high-voltage AC required careful engineering and insulation, because such lines could be extremely dangerous if something went wrong, a fact that Edison would soon exploit in the rivalry. In summary, DC and AC each had merits. DC was straightforward and worked well at small scales or with batteries, while AC was far more scalable for long-distance power distribution due to the transformer technology. The crux of the war of currents was this technical difference, and the question of which system would ultimately power the modern world. By the late 1880s, the competition between Edison's DC system and the emerging AC systems erupted into an all-out industrial and public relations battle. This wasn't a polite scientific debate. It was more like a heavyweight boxing match, with each side trading blows in the press, the courts, and the marketplace. Here's how the conflict unfolded. AC's rise and Edison's backlash, 1886 to 1888. In 1886, Westinghouse installed the first significant AC lighting systems in U.S. cities, directly challenging Edison's DC-based monopoly. Westinghouse's AC system could light up places that Edison's network simply couldn't reach, and other companies soon jumped on the AC bandwagon. Thomas Edison felt threatened by this encroachment on his turf. He responded by publicly denouncing alternating current. Edison and his Edison Electric Light Company began to claim that the high voltages used in AC were inherently unsafe, that AC could kill unwary linemen or customers, and was a dangerous, inferior technology. It wasn't a coincidence that Edison's attacks on AC's safety grew louder just as AC competitors started infringing on what had been his exclusive market. He was determined to maintain public confidence in his DC system and undermine the upstart rival. The danger of AC, hype and reality. In early 1888, a tragic opportunity played into Edison's hands. A few accidents occurred in New York City where people were electrocuted by stray high-voltage AC lines on utility poles.
These incidents, unrelated to indoor lighting, they mostly involved arc lighting lines and poorly insulated wires, caused a media frenzy. Newspaper headlines blared about the deadly new current coursing through the city. Edison seized on the public's growing fear of electricity. He now had real-world examples to point to in arguing AC is lethal. To dramatize the point, Edison, behind the scenes, enlisted Harold P. Brown, a sympathetic electrical engineer, to conduct grisly demonstrations. In July 1888, Brown, with technical and financial help from Edison's company, began publicly electrocuting animals to show the dangers of AC. They started with stray dogs and cats, and later larger animals like calves, tying them to a metal plate and shocking them with high-voltage AC until the creatures died in front of an audience. The spectacles were morbid but effective propaganda. Edison's team would sometimes contrast this by also shocking animals with DC, often at higher currents that didn't kill them, implying AC was far more dangerous. The message was clear: use Edison's DC if you value your life. The electric chair. Edison's most controversial tactic came when the state of New York sought a more humane method of execution to replace hanging. Though Edison personally opposed capital punishment, he saw a PR opportunity and recommended using alternating current for the new electric chair. His hope was that this would forever associate AC with death in the public mind. In 1890, convicted murderer William Kemmler became the first person to die in an electric chair, executed with an AC current supplied by a Westinghouse generator, obtained covertly since Westinghouse refused to voluntarily provide it. The gruesome event, which unfortunately took 2 jolts of electricity to finish the job, made headlines worldwide. Edison and his allies even coined a verb, to Westinghouse someone, meaning to execute via electric chair, so that Westinghouse and Tesla's AC system would be linked to the image of violent electrocution. These stunts and slanders were essentially early PR campaigns in the war, and they did succeed in frightening many people about AC power. Some cities hesitated to adopt AC. Some lawmakers pushed for limits on voltages or even bans on AC in densely populated areas. The war of currents had truly begun, waged not just with engineering facts, but with public fear and sensationalism.
Tesla and Westinghouse fought back. Despite Edison's scare campaign, Tesla and Westinghouse remained confident in AC's merits and continued to refine their technology. Westinghouse Electric kept expanding AC networks in city after city, often offering lighting at a lower cost than Edison's crews, because AC could use thinner wires and fewer generating stations. Nikola Tesla, in the meantime, was devising improvements and new inventions to make AC even more useful. Tesla even demonstrated fluorescent lighting and his famous Tesla coil in this period, inspiring awe for high-frequency AC phenomena. It wasn't an easy road. At one point, Westinghouse Company was stretched financially due to rapid expansion and the costs of patent battles with Edison's company. In a gesture illustrating Tesla's character, he reportedly tore up his own royalty contract with Westinghouse to relieve the company's debt burden, sacrificing millions of dollars he was owed so that AC development could press on. Tesla believed in the technology more than personal profit. By the early 1990s, the momentum was shifting. The inherent advantages of AC were becoming hard to deny. The ability to power whole cities from a distant power plant was being demonstrated in practice. Meanwhile, Edison's position was weakening, not so much his personal resolve, but his corporate empire. corporate merger and Edison's ouster, 1892. A pivotal development in the war occurred in 1892. Edison's own company was taken out of his hands when J.P. Morgan and other Wall Street financiers orchestrated a merger of Edison Electric with its chief rival, the Thomson-Houston Company, which was an AC manufacturer. This merger formed the giant General Electric, GE. Notably, the merger pushed Edison aside. His name was dropped from the company, and he was given an honorary position with no real power. Edison, famously stubborn, was said to be furious and never forgave Morgan for this move. From that point, Edison was no longer in control of the battle. The war of currents became a war between corporations, chiefly Westinghouse Electric and General Electric. And interestingly, GE, now free of Edison's personal bias, began employing both AC and DC in its systems, effectively hedging its bets. The consolidation of the industry was a sign that the tumultuous war was nearing its end. But first, two great public showcases would decisively tilt popular opinion in favor of AC. The 1893 Chicago World's Fair. The World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago, 1893, was the first all-electric World's Fair, and it became the War of Currents' most dramatic showdown on a public stage. The organizers needed a company to illuminate the fairgrounds and power the massive display of lights and electrical exhibits. General Electric, backed by Edison's former company and using DC, put in a hefty bid of $554,000 to do the job. Westinghouse Electric, eager to prove AC's prowess, underbid dramatically at $399,000. Westinghouse's bid, powered by Tesla's polyphase AC system, won the contract. Throughout 1893, Tesla and Westinghouse's engineers installed AC generators, miles of wiring, and tens of thousands of light bulbs at the fair. When the World's Fair opened in May 1893, the public witnessed a breathtaking illumination. The fairgrounds lit up in a blaze of electric light each night, powered entirely by alternating current. It was a triumphant proof of AC's capabilities. Visitors marveled at the ease with which AC current powered everything from incandescent lamps to giant searchlights and electric trains at the exhibition. The press declared Tesla's AC system the marvel of the age. Meanwhile, General Electric, which, tellingly, had started to incorporate AC generators in its portfolio by then, had to swallow defeat. The Chicago World's Fair flipped the narrative. No longer was AC seen only as a dangerous experiment. It was now shown to be reliable, economic, and spectacular on a grand scale.
Powering Niagara Falls, 1893 to 1896. Even as the World's Fair was making headlines, another project would soon put any remaining doubts to rest. The task was to harness Niagara Falls, one of the most powerful waterfalls in the world, to generate electricity and send it to the city of Buffalo, 26 miles away. This had been a dream for years, and in 1893, the Niagara Falls Power Company had to choose whose technology to use for this ambitious hydroelectric project. After deliberation, they awarded the major contract to Westinghouse Electric, which meant Tesla's AC system would be used to generate and transmit the power. General Electric received a smaller part of the contract to build some distribution components, signaling that even GE acknowledged AC's necessity for long-distance transmission. Tesla, ever the visionary, had confidently predicted that Niagara's power could light up not just Buffalo,
but eventually cities as far as New York City, over 400 miles away. In 1895, the first AC generators at Niagara Falls, based on Tesla's designs, began spinning. On November 16, 1896, Buffalo was officially lit up by AC power transmitted from Niagara Falls, achieving the long-distance feat that was impossible with Edison's DC. The success was hailed as the official end of the War of Currents. Alternating current had proven it could deliver bulk power over unprecedented distances, efficiently and safely. Even skeptics had to concede after Niagara Falls the future of electric power belonged to AC. In fact, by this time, General Electric, under the leadership of Edison's former rivals, had fully converted to AC cause, manufacturing AC equipment and partnering with Westinghouse on large projects rather than fighting a losing battle. In the aftermath of these events, direct current was all but vanquished in the realm of power distribution. Edison's once dominant system rapidly gave way to AC in city after city. DC systems in operation either converted to AC or were abandoned over the ensuing decades. A few stubborn DC pockets survived remarkably long. The last commercial DC power utility in New York City operated until 2007 before finally shutting down. But these were rare exceptions in a world increasingly wired for AC. The War of Currents thus came to a close, and its outcome shaped the electrical era that was just beginning. The War of Currents concluded with alternating current as the clear winner for the world's electrical grids. Thomas Edison, having lost the battle for the standard, turned his energies to other endeavors like motion pictures and battery research in the 1990s, and he gradually stepped away from the electric utility industry. Nikola Tesla continued to innovate and explore radical ideas, from wireless power transmission to early radio technology. But he too moved on to new challenges after AC's victory was secure. With Edison's DC power largely sidelined, the AC system Tesla championed became the backbone of modern electric networks. Power plants everywhere adopted the model of generating AC, sending it through high-voltage transmission lines and distributing it via transformers to homes and businesses. This AC paradigm has electrified our cities, industries, and homes for a century. It's the reason you can flip a switch and light up a room or power a refrigerator so easily today.
That said, the end of the War of Currents wasn't the end of the story for direct current. In the 20th century, Edison's DC found a second life in niche applications and new technologies. While virtually all long-distance power lines use AC, many devices in our technological age actually run on DC internally. For example, your electronics, computers, smartphones, LED lights, all use DC power. They take the AC from the wall and convert it to DC for their circuitry. Electric vehicles, fittingly, Tesla's name lives on in an electric car brand, use batteries which supply DC, and those batteries are charged from the AC grid via converters. Even at the grid level, high voltage direct current, or HVDC, transmission has made a comeback for certain specialized purposes, sending electricity across very long distances, hundreds of miles, with minimal losses, or connecting grids between continents.
Modern engineering has developed efficient electronics to step DC voltages up and down, addressing the very limitation that hampered DC in Edison's time. As a result, DC is experiencing a renaissance in scenarios where its stability and efficiency offer advantages, such as vast solar farms, which produce DC, feeding into HVDC power lines. In a twist of fate, some of the most advanced power projects today use hybrid systems, AC for local distribution and DC for certain long-distance links, marrying the strengths of both approaches. The lasting legacy of the Edison-Tesla rivalry is a power system that actually utilizes both AC and DC, each in the domains where it works best. Instead of one technology utterly destroying the other, we've arrived at a kind of hybrid armistice, as one Department of Energy writer aptly put it. The war is over, and the two currents now work side by side. AC grids bring electricity to our communities, and within our devices, DC powers the digital world, together keeping our modern life running smoothly. None of this would have been possible without the contributions of both men and the fierce competition their rivalry sparked. The war of currents drove rapid progress in electrical technology, established rigorous safety standards, and captivated the public's imagination about the possibilities of science and engineering. In hindsight, the rivalry between Edison and Tesla, and by extension, their financial backers and companies, was a dramatic but necessary growing pain in the electrification of the world. It pitted Edison's pragmatism against Tesla's idealism, and in the end, combined the best of both. Edison's incandescent light brought electricity into homes, and Tesla's AC system ensured it could reach from Niagara Falls to New York. Today, when we see a city skyline glittering at night or charge a device, we are witnessing the legacy of the war of currents. It's a legacy of innovation overcoming obstacles, the triumph of a superior system, and also a testament to how competition can accelerate technological progress. The electric light that banished the darkness, the power lines spanning continents, the very fact that electricity is ubiquitous, all that grew out of this pivotal chapter in history. In the end, the war of currents was not just a feud between two geniuses. It was the forging of our electrified modern world, illuminated by the brilliance of Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla.